Hello, everybody. It is Friday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My name is Adam Bittner, assistant sports editor for multimedia at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, joined for our usual Friday episode of the North Shore Drive by Jason Mackey, our Post-Gazette sports columnist. We're talking about communication and Mike Tomlin. It's a word he's been throwing around seemingly forever now for the issues that the Steelers are having on defense. How much blame does he deserve for that? How much blame do the players deserve for that? How much does the staff deserve for that? We're going to try to sort through that topic. We're also going to talk about T.J. Watt and his lack of sacks so far, but the pressures he's been getting. Is he becoming a Myles Garrett type figure in this Steelers defense? A lot to talk about there. Before we do, just want to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Edgar Snyder Associates. Law firms come and go, but what law firm has been here in Western PA fighting for injury victims for more than 40 years? It's Edgar Snyder Associates. What firm has a staff of over 130 people who live and work here? It's Edgar Snyder Associates. Law firms come and go, but Edgar Snyder is a name you can always trust. So remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. If you've been hurt in an accident, call them at 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit edgarsnyder.com. They're available 24/7. Jason, when does Mike Tomlin become accountable for the communication? He says it every week in these press conferences like it's an easy fix, that it's not a big deal. If he says the word communication, then the accountability for the lack of communication to that point magically dissipates into the ether, and that the great communication is just over that next hill. We just got to keep going. We're going to get there soon. And yet he cited the problem over and over. So at some point, does that land on him for whatever is not working there?
Yeah, the some point is now, Adam. I don't know how it doesn't. To me, it is. It's not necessarily damning with faint praise, but like, you're sort of admitting the problem. You're admitting you are the problem by saying communication is the issue. Either the players are not being coached appropriately, they're not taking to the coaching. By the way, that's all Mike Tomlin's problem. It is your job to get guys to communicate. If you have this much consistent communication issues or this many consistent communication issues, maybe your system isn't great. I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of things the problem could actually be. But if we're going to talk about accountability for these communication issues, Adam, I'm tired of it. And I think fans are very tired of it too. This stuff should not continue to happen. And I don't know, maybe you've brought in players who can't communicate. I think it's kind of a crutch. I don't think it's all communication issues, but the accountability absolutely involves Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, and here's my thing is, I think you mentioned, is it the defense? Is it what he's asking these players to do that it's somehow too complicated for them to communicate on the field? Or, I mean, can we be somewhat charitable here, Jason, and say it still is only week 3? You have a new cast of players. You took some other guys out that couldn't hack it, and now you're putting other guys in, and maybe it will take some period of time for that communication to mature.
No, I disagree with that, Adam. And here's one example. This drove me crazy reading this. Juan Thornhill's quote in Ray Fittipaldo's story today. And there's nothing wrong with the story. I like the story. But he was talking about the noise at Acrisure Stadium. Were you unaware there was going to be noise? Like, did this come as a shock? Like, you guys should have been working on that. They have crowd noise. It should be part of your teaching to have nonverbal communication. Like, I understand there's like a feel and getting to know one another and sort of understanding where somebody is. You know, and you can see the background here. I'm in hockey. Like, that's the ultimate. You got to sort of feel out your teammate kind of sport. There's not necessarily a script. It's a little bit different, but it's not really, right? In the secondary, you have to understand what your cornerbacks, what your safeties are doing in concert with one another. That should have been taken care of in the preseason. Why it was not, I don't know. And why all of a sudden these guys are surprised that it's difficult to communicate verbally, not necessarily with hand signals or feel, once you get into Acrisure Stadium. To me, that's a lack of preparedness that falls at the feet of the head coach.
Jason, one of our favorite offseason topics when there's nothing else going on in the news is always the size of Mike Tomlin's staff. And is that a problem? Is that an issue? It's, that's the rain delay material that we sometimes get into in like June and July when there's nothing going on. But I think it's relevant at this moment as well, because isn't that what assistant coaches are for? Sure. And if you had more of them, would you not have someone who could better facilitate the communication or focus on facilitating the communication? Like, when you sit down and you watch college football on Saturday, they'll have like 8 graduate assistants or even like students like doing the motions and everything and like doing all that on the sideline. I'm not saying
so you want him holding up signs. We should get like pieces of poster
that in the NFL. No, but like at some point, doesn't the lack of manpower on the staff become part of the question here? Because this is something that if it was somebody's job, it seems like it would be rectified. And we know that there are much bigger staffs across the NFL that handle stuff exactly like this.
I don't know. Like, to be fair to Tomlin and his staff, we don't know where the communication issues are stemming from. I don't know if they're going to be eradicated by manpower. I don't know if they're going to be eradicated by teaching. I mean, this might be something as simple as how much time they spend in the classroom and how the message is being delivered. And maybe that's a Mike Tomlin thing. Maybe it's how their days are structured and whether they're not, having frequent enough meetings or revising concepts or coming up with communication tools. I don't know. I mean, that's something that only people inside the building would know. And like, would more sets of hands be a good thing? I don't know. I mean, I could rebut your argument and say you have too many hands in the pile or, too many cooks in the kitchen, something like that. I think there might be an argument there. I think that's different than Mike Tomlin's like clock management. You need a scoring situation late in the game guy or somebody like overseeing challenges. Like, I do think those are accomplished via manpower. But as far as like communication and teaching and learning and understanding, I just don't think we know enough that it would be like a, solved by numbers.
Yeah, I probably agree with you that we don't know enough, but it is, I think, a natural question to ask because we do it all off season. Then you're talking about these shortcomings. I think it's a question that like I'd like to see him asked for sure. Of like, could you use a guy in here like I don't know who was that coordinator from the Rams they were looking at before they hired Arthur Smith? Was it Zach Robinson?
Yep.
He had like this passing game coordinator job, and what does that actually mean compared to the offensive coordinator who's calling the plays? No one knows, but that guy now has a job in the NFL. So, as a head coach. So, that's just an example for me. Jason, any final thoughts on the communication situation with this team?
It needs to end soon, Adam. I mean, I think people are out of patience. We need to see them communicate. I think they've played all of the communication issues cards. And, we'll get into some other Steelers topics, but I just think people are kind of tired of hearing about it.
Yep. We're going to get into another one they're probably tired of hearing about. TJ Watt, his lack of sacks. It feels like we've been talking about him a lot this offseason, just like kind of Cam Hayward was in the focus early in the week. So we're going to get into that on the other side. Stay tuned here to the North Shore Drive podcast. We'll be right back. Jason, we are back on the North Shore Drive podcast. I'm Adam Bittner. He's Jason Mackey. We're going to talk about TJ Watt, his lack of sacks so far. Before we do, I want to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Savinas, Kane, and Gallucci, Pittsburgh's mesothelioma and asbestos attorneys, standing up for victims of mesothelioma and asbestos cancers with over 85 years of experience. They know how to uncover the truth. They have the experience you need and the commitment your family deserves. They've recovered millions for individuals affected by mesothelioma and other cancers due to asbestos exposure. Call them toll-free at 1-877-227-6558 or visit them online at sdklaw.com. Jason, let's talk about TJ Watt. And you brought up when we were putting the show notes together the comparisons to how Myles Garrett is talked about whenever he's not getting sacks. For years, Steelers fans have been saying TJ Watt gets the stats that actually matter. He makes the disruptive plays that actually matter, that change games. Myles Garrett gets a ton of pressures that look good on a PFF sheet, but that don't translate to his team winning, other than that one time they beat the Steelers in 2020. And now people are kind of excusing TJ Watt's lack of sacks so far with the same argument. So I want to give you a chance to dissect that seeming hypocrisy a little bit and say on this. Yeah.
Seeming, Adam, seeming. It is a big hypocrisy. I don't like it. I don't like that argument. All of what we talked about with TJ Watt this offseason and is he worth that sort of money? And, I sort of came around to the deal because the Steelers didn't go terribly long on the years. I thought they found a reasonable middle ground. But I'm sorry. I'm expecting ultimate production. He's paid to get the quarterback on the ground. I mean, right now it's a problem for the Steelers because he is taking on 2 and 3 blockers and other guys aren't winning their one-on-one matchups. And that's going to drag down your team's success. But Do I expect TJ Watt to still put up traditional sack numbers? Yes, I do. And I don't think that's asking too much. I mean, I look at Micah Parsons and I don't know, basically any of your elite edge rushers who got paid. Myles Garrett is one, but it's kind of a non-traditional example because of the pressures and what was used to prop up his defensive player of the year case. But anyway, it's a long-winded way of saying that I want the actual numbers, and making $40+ million a year. I don't think we're crazy to ask for them. I don't think TJ Watt is playing horrible. Like if you look at the run stats, like he's actually done a pretty good job. He's forced teams to run the other way. And when they have ran to his side of the field, they haven't had much success as opposed to the other side. But yeah, like I want sack totals. I'm not shy about admitting that. They're paying a lot of money and they should be getting them.
Let me play devil's advocate a little bit, Jason.
Sure.
Is it possible that TJ's trying to play more like Myles Garrett? And then is it possible that he's able to because of the depth they've attempted to cultivate around him? You mentioned the double and triple teams he's getting, the attention that he's drawing. Theoretically, that should open up opportunities for other guys, and they have, or at least should have, the horses to do that now. Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig drafted Jack Sawyer in the offseason. Have they maybe looked at the celebration of Myles Garrett, looked at the analytics and said, maybe TJ should be playing more like Myles Garrett because he's capable of doing that. We think that they're equivalent players, but Myles Garrett's been getting the edge in the eyes of these stat guys for years now. Has that maybe sunk in over there?
I would be really surprised if they did anything based on what Cleveland or Myles Garrett have done schematically. They're different players. They're different body types. They're different styles. I don't think that would behoove the Steelers to try to emulate that. TJ Watt needs to be TJ Watt. And I think to a degree he's been that. I think late in last season he was injured and lacked some explosiveness. I think some of that, I should say much of that, honestly, has returned. I can't say watching TJ Watt that he looks so much different than he ever has in the past. You just want the results. You want him to finish plays. I wish they moved him around and were a little bit more creative with him. I think we saw that a little bit at the end of the Seahawks game, but I still think there's a lot of meat on that bone. And just, setting him up more, stunts, twists, inside out, different ways as opposed to just a traditional lineup out wide pass rush. He's also had opportunities. He had 2 pressures on Sunday that you would have liked to have seen him maybe get there a tick earlier, and then he gets the sack. So there's a lot of stuff to talk around it, Adam. But I mean, $40+ million. I don't think I'm crazy for still expecting the sack production. Aaron Donald had a lot of attention his way too. He still produced and was paid that way. And there's been a lot of defenders over the years that have received a lot of attention. And it's not like we say, oh, well, you know what? They're drawing double teams. They're drawing triple teams. It's okay. No, you're paid like an elite defender. I need you to be an elite defender.
Steelers are 1.5-point favorites against the Patriots this week, according to our friends at FanDuel. Make sure you check them out if you're looking to place a wager on this game. Jason, is it possible we're just not going to know what this defense is really going to look like until they get Derek Harmon in there and or this defensive line is able to play the way that it was designed? Because, I think lots of people have acknowledged that the defensive line in front of TJ Watt has become part of the issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible, Adam. I think it certainly is going to help getting Derek Harmon back. I think it's going to help when they get healthier all around. I do worry about that in this defense. The start of the season, they've really needed to win some games and play their best football. And I think they're set up in a run here, schedule-wise. They should have an opportunity to put some of the narratives out there behind them. I think they can do that. But, it hurts not having Deshaun Elliott. It hurts not having Derek Harmon. It hurts not having Joey Porter Jr. It hurts not having Alex Highsmith. There's no 2 ways around that. And that's not making excuses. That's just, you're looking at 4 absolute starters and impact guys. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to know what this defense is totally like until those guys are back. I would hope, though, that there's enough talent in the other spots, and there is. They need to execute and perform, that they can still be really good.
Yeah, and I think the issue is that we've never had to talk about why TJ Watt is not transcending all of these things before, and now we are. And that's really, what it boils down to for people. You can make rational arguments for why the production isn't there, but we've never had to have that conversation before. So will be interesting to see how that unfolds. Jason, thank you so much for joining me this week. Always great insight, especially getting you from Cranberry today. So that's been a lot of fun. to have some pucks in the background. Everyone else will be back next week, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'll be back on Sunday as well for the Steelers post-game show with Paul Zeiss. So lots coming your way there. And, of course, we've got Ireland next week with the Steelers heading to Dublin for their game against the Vikings. So lots of good stuff coming from across the pond. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Help us out in the YouTube algorithm. And check out all of our written work at postgazette.com. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.